Hello class, this is part 2. Now, let us continue on this question. Now, what is the limit as x approaches infinity? Because it is approaching infinity, one thing that which you can think of this one is, even, because we have square root, this is similar to 3x. Therefore, x cancels out, we end up getting 3/4, which would be this, becomes our answer. Alright, now, next. Which of the following is true when x equals 1? We get to realize, since when you look at this one, increasing, decreasing, relative, minimum, so why don't we try to take the derivative? Now, when you take the derivative, we have f prime, then is equal to 1 over x, and then in this case, plus e to the negative x times negative 1. That's what we end up getting. Now, but when you plug in 1 in this particular place, then we get to realize that this becomes 1, and then while this portion becomes 1, because of the other negative 1, we end up getting minus 1 equals to 0. Now, since it is equal to 0, it might be one of these two, relative minimum or relative maximum. Now, another thing which you can do is either we can do the number line test, or if you take the double derivative, then we end up getting here, derivative of 1 over x becomes negative 1 over x squared. Here it becomes, once again, it used to be negative e to the negative x, but because of another negative, we end up getting positive e to the negative x. Now, when you plug in 1 in this place, we get to realize that this one is negative 1. Whoops, I think I just made a mistake. Sorry. I'm going to go back up here. When you plug in negative 1, sorry guys, this becomes 1 over 1, and then minus 1 over e. That's what we end up getting. Sorry guys. So in this case, then this e is about 2.718, so this becomes actually positive value. So our answer will become simply f is increasing. Sorry about the bottom one. The mistake was right here. All right, let's move on. Here, so first we have to take the derivative of f, which ends up being, then when you take the derivative of this one, then f prime of x now becomes 1 over 2 plus x squared to the third power by simply substituting and multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is 2x. Now here whoops, what am I doing? Sorry. Cube times 2x. Now, but when you plug in negative 1, then we end up getting f prime of negative 1. We end up getting 2 times negative 1 over 2 plus negative 1 squared to the third power. Now, then upper portion becomes simply negative 2. Bottom one becomes positive 1, and it's becoming 3. So negative 2/3. That becomes our final answer. Right, number 13 here. Average value of this, in this case, here the word value implies for y. Now that means, or whatever this function is, so what we have to do is this, from negative 1 to 1, for 2t cubed minus 3t squared plus 4 dt, whole thing divided by 1 minus negative 1. This one basically coming from average value, we could figure out by integral of a to b, same thing as mean value theorem, b minus f of a. Oops, no. Sorry, I think just late night, just getting a bit tired, so making mistakes here. A to b of f of x dx all over b minus a. That's basically how we can get average value, and then we are applying the same thing here. Then we end up getting, when when you integrate the upper portion, we get t to the fourth power over 2, and then minus t cubed and plus 4t. 4, negative 1 through 1, 4, 2. Now, when you plug in 1, we end up getting 1 half minus 1 plus 4. When you plug in negative 1, minus, still 1 half, and then it becomes positive 1 and minus 4. Whole thing divided by 2. And here you will realize quite easily that this 1 half cancels out with this 1 half. And the other thing, in fact, comes together. And here we have negative 1 plus 4 becomes 3. Here it becomes negative 3. But because of another negative sign, we end up getting 6 over 2, which is equal to 3. That becomes our final answer, which is choice C. Alright, number 15. Here, in fact, if you have to plug in 1, you will end up getting a 0 over 0. So in fact, we cannot just, assume one over the other. So among many ways, one way which you can do is this. If I have to rewrite it, square root of x minus 1, or we can multiply top and bottom by its conjugate. Square root of x plus 1, square root of x plus 1. Then we get the limit as x approaches 1. On the top we get x minus 1. On the bottom we have x minus 1 times radical x plus 1. And as you will realize that these two cancels out. So we end up having 1 over radical x plus 1. As x approaches 1, this will become 1 half. So choice B becomes our answer. Alright, now next question. In fact, in this question, what we could have done was we could take the derivative of each term. We'll do that, but in fact, an easier way would have been knowing that this in fact is equal to cosine of 2x. That would make things so much easier. But for now, what we will be doing is this. We will just, use the chain rule and just go ahead and doing it. And this becomes 2 cosine of x times the derivative of inside, which is negative sine of x. Now, minus, here we get 2 sine of x times the inside, which is sine of x, becomes cosine of x. Now, when you combine them, both is negative 2 cosine sine. Negative 2 cosine sine. Essentially, this becomes negative 4 sine x cosine x. That becomes our final answer. Now, have we missed something here? Oh, yeah, it's right on the bottom. Yes, E. Oops, somehow I couldn't see that. Alright, number 17. Area under this graph. This simply means they want us to calculate this one from 1 to 2. And then 4x cubed plus 6x minus 1 over x dx. And when we take the antiderivative of each one, the first term becomes simply x to the fourth power. Second term becomes 3x squared. And then third one, antiderivative of 1 over x becomes ln of x from 1 to 2. When you plug in 2, we end up getting 2 to the fourth power, which becomes 16. And the second one becomes plus 12 minus ln of 2. Now, minus. If you plug in 1 to the first one, it becomes 1 plus 3 minus ln of 1. We know that this one becomes 0. So when we simplify things here, we get 28, but minus 4, so we end up getting 24. minus ln of t. So that becomes our answer. All right. Here we have to take the antiderivative. When you look at this one as it is, it becomes somewhat difficult. But if you look at this one carefully, one more time, this is what it ends up being. X minus 1 and another minus 1. There's a reason why I'm separating it this way. Dx. Now then you will realize here, this portion becomes 1, and this becomes another fraction. Now, nice heart, you see? So in other words, this becomes 1 minus 1 over x plus, x minus 1 dx. Now, when you take the antiderivative of 1, it becomes simply x. Antiderivative of 1 over this becomes minus ln of absolute value of x minus 1. Now, the reason why we have to have absolute value is because what if the value here becomes negative, right? Because we cannot have negative values inside of ln. So here we have plus c. Now, which one of these are my answer? I believe it's choice C. All right. Now, the fact that this function has this property, that means it's even function, isn't it? Now, which of the following are most necessary to be equal to this one? Now, since this is an even function, when you look at it, it's just symmetrical about the y-axis. Now, then here, for example, if I were to sketch y equals x squared, you will realize that whatever slope we get, on the other side we're going to get the same value, but it's going to be negated. Now, in fact, we can do this one algebraically by looking at this one. G prime of negative x times negative 1, that will be the derivative of the left side. But on the right side, we will end up getting g prime of x, because we have to have negative 1 due to the chain rule here. Now, in place of x, if you have to plug in a, what we end up getting is this. We get g prime of negative a. In fact, negative sign is equal to g prime of a. Now, what the question is looking for is g prime of negative a. That means by multiplying by negative 1, we get g prime of negative a, which is equal to negative g prime of a. So that becomes our answer, which is choice B. With this, we will close off for part 2. We'll continue with part 3.